This is the review video for the Topic 3 Part 1 test review homework. So number 1 is a set theory question. It's talking about the 40 students that were surveyed about when they do their homework on the weekend, and F represents those who do it on Friday nights, and S represents those who do it on Saturday or Sunday. And they give us some information and ask us some questions. So Part A, they ask us how many people are in the set F intersect S. So that would be the people who did their homework on both Friday and Saturday or Sunday. And so we know that's going to be 9. We know the total number of people surveyed is 40, but if you add up F and S, it equals 49, so 9 of those people have to overlap. F union S complement are those who don't do their homework on either Friday or Saturday, Sunday. And that is equal to 0 because, one, you're going to assume everybody did their homework on the weekend. And also because if you add these up, it's already over 40. So that means there's nobody who didn't do their homework. If you add up what they give us, it's already more than the 40 people surveyed. So that outside's going to be 0. So our Venn diagram is going to look like this. Make sure you have your outside box. You have your F set and your S set. And if 9 people overlap, they go in the middle. And then that means that the 20 is 11 plus 9. So 11 people just do their homework on Friday. And the 29 is 9 plus 20. So that means 20 people just do their homework on Saturday or Sunday. So number 2 gives us this Venn diagram where B are the students who study biology, C are the students who study chemistry, and P are the students who study physics. So part AI, they want to know how many people are in the group B intersect C intersect P. So this is basically the ones who do all 3 classes, who take biology and chemistry and physics. So that would just be that center overlap here, so that would be 4 people. Double I, they want to know the people who are in C union P, so the people who are taking either chemistry or physics or both. So that's anybody who's in the chemistry circle and anybody who's in the physics circle. So you'd add up all of these, so 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 16 plus 2 plus 9, and you end up with 40 people are taking either chemistry or physics or both. Part B, they want to know this value for A, so that's the people who are not taking any of these science classes, either biology, chemistry, or physics. So we know they tell us that there's 100 people total, and then just subtract off how many people are calculated already up here, so all of the ones that are listed up here, and so you end up with 42 people are not taking one of these 3 science classes. Part C wants to know how many people are not taking biology. So there's a couple ways you could do it. You could either add up the groups that are outside of biology, or you could do 100 minus those who are taking biology. Either way, you should end up with 70 people are not taking biology. I did it by adding up these over here, and then also don't forget the 42 that are not taking any science. Number 3 gives us 3 logic statements. P is my laptop is broken, Q is my laptop is fixed, and R is I will finish writing up my portfolio tasks, and then asks us some questions about those. So part A gives us symbolic statements and wants us to write it in words. So the first one was not P and not Q. So that becomes my laptop is not broken and my laptop is not fixed. The second one was Q implies R. So remember your implication is your if-then statement. So if my laptop is fixed, then I will finish writing up my portfolio task. The last one was R if and only if Q. So whenever you see this, that's your if and only if. So if and only if I will finish writing up my portfolio task, then my laptop is fixed. Part B gave you the statement and wanted you to write the symbolic statement. So the first one was my laptop is broken, which is P, and not fixed. So P and not Q. And then the second one was my laptop is broken, so that's P, and I will not finish writing up my portfolio task, so not R. So P and not R. Number 4 gives us a lot of information about students who are studying physics, biology, or chemistry for the IB diploma candidacy, and then gives us a Venn diagram with some information and asks us some questions. So part A wants us to express the number of students who study only physics in terms of X, so we're trying to fill in this section right here. So they tell us that 30 students study both physics and biology, Well, 20 study all three, so that means 10 study just physics and biology. So this section right here is 10. So then we know that 50 students total study physics. So the ones that study just physics are going to be 50 minus the 30 that study both biology and physics, minus the X that study physics and chemistry. So the ones who study just physics are going to be 20 minus X. Part B wants us to solve for X. Well, we know there's 90 students total, and they all are taking at least one of these classes, so all of these in here have to add up to 90. So I added up all of these sections here and set it equal to 90, and you get that 90 equals 105 minus X, so that means X must be 15. Part C wants us to finish the Venn diagram. So X is 15, this section in here. This section is 25 minus X, so 25 minus 15, which is 10. This section here is 20 minus X, which is 15, so you get 5. And then we already said if 30 study biology and physics, then that means 10, and 20 study all three, that means 10 study just biology and physics. So this would be the completed Venn diagram here. And then Part D wants us to determine the number of students who study at least 2 subjects. So that's going to be any of the overlapping sections. So 10 plus 20 plus 10 plus 15, you get 55 students are studying at least 2 subjects. Number 5 is a logic question again, so chapter 10 stuff. So they tell us that P is I do not have enough money, and Q is I buy a new car, and then ask us some questions about it. So part A gives us the symbolic statement not P implies Q, and we wanted to write that in a sentence. So if I do save enough money, then I buy a car. Remember, this is change the negation, so I dropped the not. This is your if-then statement. B gives us the written statement, I save enough money and I do not buy a new car. So that becomes not P and not Q. Part C wants us to fill out the truth table that they give us. So they already give us the first 4 columns. And then we want to fill out not P implies Q. So we're looking at not P implying this column Q. So we have a false implies. Whenever you have a false start, then it's always true. False implies, that's going to be a true. True implies true, so that's a true. True implies false, so that is a false. So for the first column here, the only one that's false is the bottom one. And then you have not P and not Q. So for an and, the only time this is true is if they're both true. So as soon as you see a false, it's going to be a false. So for the first 3, I have at least one false, so the and is going to be false. And then the last one, I have a true and true, so it's a true. So number 6 gives us the statement, if Elliot passes his driving test, then his dad will buy him a new car, and asks us to find the inverse, the converse, and the contrapositive. So for the inverse, you keep the order the same, but change the true, false, the truth value. So you get if Elliot does not pass his driving test, then his dad won't buy him a new car. For the converse, you keep the truth value but switch the order. So you get if his dad buys him a new car, then Elliot will pass his driving test. And for the contrapositive, you do both. You switch the order and change the truth value. So if his dad does not buy him a new car, then Elliot will not pass his driving test. So number 7 gives us some more logic questions and wants us to fill out this truth table. So they give us the first 2 columns and then they want an P and Q. So remember, the only time and is true is if both are true. So that's only in the first place. The rest of them, as soon as you see a false, the and is false. Not P and Q, so you're looking at this column and just changing the truth values. So it becomes a false and then 3 trues. Not P and not Q, they already filled out for us. And then not P or not Q, so we're looking at these 2 columns. And as long as there is at least one true, the whole thing is true. So the first one has 2 falses, so it's a false. Everything else has at least one true, so all 3 of those are true. So then part 2 says, state whether the compound propositions not P and Q and not P or not Q are equivalent. And yes, they are, because you have the exact same truth values all the way down. 1 false and 3 trues for both of them. So they are logically equivalent. Part B gives us 2 propositions. P is Amy eats sweets and Q is Amy goes swimming, and wants us to write in symbolic form, Amy either eats sweets or goes swimming, but not both. So this means that only one of them can be true. So that's your exclusive or. So you have P exclusive or Q. Question number 8 is a topic 1 question, so it's talking about money and sequences and series. So it's a review question. So part A wants us to figure out how much money Vera would have depending on her 4 options after 1 year. So option 1, she just gets $100 every month for a year, so 100 times 12, she'd end up with $1,200. Option B, she's putting it into a bank account that gives her, she's putting $1,100 into a bank account that gives her 12% compounded monthly. So you can use your compound interest formula and your TVM solver on your graphing calculator. Your future value is equal to your present value times 1 plus R divided by 100 times N, where N is how many times a year you're being compounded, raised to the NT, so how many times a year you're being compounded, times how many years. So in this case, it's compounded monthly, so N would be 12. So at the end of 1 year, she'd have $1,239.51. Option C is an arithmetic sequence. She starts off with $75 and earns $5 extra every month. So that means that if you use your sum formula for arithmetic sequences, you get how many months divided by 2, 2 times u sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. So you end up with $1,230 at the end of the year. Part D is a geometric sequence with a common ratio of 1.05 because she has 105% of what she had the month before and a u sub 1 or a initial value of 80. So using the sum formula for geometric sequences, you end up with $1,273.37 at the end of the year. Part B wants us to know which one you think she should choose. Option D ends up with the most money at the end of the year, so that's probably the one she should choose. Part C says she's investing $1,200 of those dollars into a bank account, and in 2 years she wants to buy a scooter for $1,452. What interest rate does she need if it's compounded annually? So using that same formula from up here, we now know the future value, but we don't know R. So plug in all the information you know, solve it either algebraically or using your graphing calculator, your TVM solver, and you get that R has to be at least 10%. So this has been the review video for the Topic 3 Part 1 test.